Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lara, or Lara Likes Mascara. On this channel I talk about all things makeup low buy, no buy, conscious consumerism. And I will admit, I have been talking around this topic for a while now. Since I really started getting into YouTube, I've been posting once a week since the end of 2019. And I will admit, it is sometimes a struggle to figure out things to talk about, because I'm like, what have I not already said? What aspect of makeup low buys have I not discussed? How can I give more tips? Because I know that is a big part of what people come to my channel for. People want to know how to stick to that kind of conscious consumerism, whether they're not continually going out and buying stuff, or, for whatever reason it is that you would prefer to minimize your makeup spending. But I've given so many tips over the years. I have so many videos. I'll just link them all here, and I don't want to repeat myself. But today's video I'm very excited about, because I'm kind of gonna bring fresh energy to an older topic. So back, I think it was at the beginning of 2020, I did a video talking about the ways in which this makeup no buy had changed my life in ways that go far beyond my relationship to makeup, that, just impact my life in general. And I'm going to be talking about that again today, but with a slightly different perspective. Oh, helicopter. It's so bright right now. But my relationship with makeup has changed a lot since then. And, my relationship with makeup is continually changing. And year after year, my, ideology shifts a little bit, or my makeup preferences change. And so it makes sense that my makeup low buy would continue to impact the rest of my life. And I should also say that at that point, when I made that video, which I will link here, I was on a makeup no buy, so I was not allowing myself to buy anything, and I stuck to that for 2.5, 3 years. Now I'm at a point where I'm doing a makeup low buy, so I do bring some new things into my collection, but not very many. But that whole kind of ethos has really remained the same since then. So without further ado, let's talk about the ways that my makeup low buy has positively impacted the rest of my life. Please keep in mind, with that last video, I was in a different space. I did not have a microphone or a camera, so the quality was not that great, and a lot has changed since then. At the moment, I feel like I can't imagine my life without the conscious consumerism aspect, because it has fundamentally altered so many things, and it's also sort of inseparable from the other aspects of my worldview. I'm a much more, I like to think, ethical and sustainable person now. And so before my no buy, I just was not thinking at all about makeup ethics, being cruelty free, where the products came from, how they were negatively affecting the environment. And now I think about that stuff all the time with all aspects of my consumerism. I try not to buy anything new if I can help it. I like getting everything secondhand. I eat vegan. So all of these things, you can see that my life has really changed, and I can't imagine a version of me where I wasn't a conscious consumer at this point in my life, because that would clash with the other changes that I have made. But it all goes sort of hand in hand. And what I wanted to start talking about first is the way that my makeup low buy has impacted my view of stuff on the whole. So previously, with regard to makeup and really everything in my life, my goal was just to accumulate as much stuff as possible. I wanted to have as big a makeup collection as possible. I wanted to have so many eyeshadow palettes, so many blushes, so many brushes. I wanted to have a huge wardrobe, just more, all of the options that I could possibly have. I wanted to have a ton of jewelry and shoes and purses. And I really don't know that I decluttered stuff ever. And this is partially because I just didn't need to. Because of where I was in life, I didn't have real size constraints. I'm not saying I had a 2,000 square foot walk-in closet or anything like that, but I was living at my parents', so it was a house. It had more space than the apartment that I'm in now, obviously. And also in undergrad, I was living away from home. So I had basically 2 rooms. I had the room at my parents', and then I had the room at the house I was living at with my friends. And, you know, for some people, maybe when they move away from home, they take everything with them and their entire wardrobe goes from their parents' place to, you know, university, and then you just move all that stuff back and forth. But for me, it wasn't exactly like that. I mean, I would say most of my stuff I brought with me, but a lot of stuff I just left at home because I never reached for it. I never wanted it. I just had too much stuff, but I didn't declutter the stuff I didn't use anymore because I don't know. It didn't cross my mind. I wasn't really a declutterer. That also wasn't a thing at the time. Like, Marie Kondo really only got big towards, I would say, the very end of my undergrad and in the 3 years following that. And then I went away to do my master's as well at a different university. So same thing. I had 2 rooms once again. I just didn't have a need to declutter, and I didn't see the point in doing it. I also didn't know, you know, all of these methods that I have now to get rid of stuff. I wasn't aware of buns or Facebook Buy Nothing. These things also weren't as big back then. Keep in mind how quickly these things have changed. So I just didn't declutter. And I also had no kind of desire to aestheticize my spaces. You know what I mean? That is another thing that has come along with social media. We all want our homes to look picture perfect and like an influencer, and have like, you know, a style, whether that be maximalist or like all white, all beige furniture and decor that just, you know, me as like a 19-year-old, I just didn't have any kind of real appreciation for that. So I was terrible at organizing. I didn't like cleaning. Like, I would do cleaning that I had to do if my parents asked me to clean, or if my roommates and I designated a certain day for cleaning or whatever. But like, I was not into cleaning. I would not do it if I was not forced. So you can see how all of this just sort of made me into a hyper consumer. Because keep in mind, I had a real appreciation, always have, for clothing and makeup and beauty and everything. So I loved collecting that stuff. I loved watching YouTube during high school and undergrad. And I loved owning stuff, but I just had no real organization. And so if you've been watching me for the last couple of years, you know that is the complete opposite of where I am now. Like, I am hyper organized. I mean, I'm still like a somewhat messy person, but I'm at least an organized messy person. I regularly go through my things to make sure I don't have anything that I don't need or want. I am constantly decluttering. I am constantly reorganizing, and that is so different. And I honestly think that that is almost entirely because of my makeup low buy. Because I went on this low buy, I started to become more curatorial in the way that I looked at my makeup collection, making sure that it was the products that I wanted, and that went over into the other aspects of my stuff. Into my clothing, I really try to curate my clothing and my wardrobe as well. Into my, you know, even in my kitchen, I'm always going through the fridge and seeing like what we need to finish before it expires, or what needs to be thrown out in our pantry, all that kind of stuff. This low buy has fundamentally changed my relationship with stuff. And this may sound like a stretch, but hear me out. My background is different than it was a few months ago. We've been redecorating a little bit, and I don't know if that would have happened if not for my no buy. Because the no buy honestly got me interested in like curating a space for myself and figuring out what I like in terms of my home. Because I mean, it seems weird. You would think that someone who's interested in like clothing and beauty and stuff would have an appreciation for just like spaces and the way that things looked, but I couldn't care less about that sort of stuff before. I read a couple of the home edit books, which were somewhat helpful, but a little bit frustrating if you live in a small 1-bedroom apartment and not a like mansion in Texas. That being said, there were a couple of helpful bits. So yeah, all of this reorganization and home decor, that was, I think it's a straight trajectory from the low buy. It's all related for me. That was just the kickoff that got me interested. So all of these were really fundamental shifts in who I am as a person, which is pretty wild. The next thing is that this low buy helped me to have less of a hoarder mentality. I won't say that I have no hoarder intentions, because I still feel like I struggle with that a little bit. I hold on to things longer than I should, but I'm at least aware of it, and I try not to be like that. I used to be way worse. As I mentioned before, I would keep everything, like regardless of if I needed it, if I used it. I just didn't get rid of stuff because I had that kind of hoarder mentality where you want to keep everything regardless of its usefulness or purpose in your life, which is really unhealthy. And I honestly think it has to do with more than just stuff. Like, there's some underlying issues in there, which I don't really know how to get into or diagnose, but I think a lot of people deal with, even if they're not hoarders, they deal with hoarding tendencies, whether that's passed on from, a parent or whatever. I think what was especially bad was that I didn't even realize it at the time. I didn't have those tendencies. Whereas now, because I am aware of that, I'm better able to cope with it. You really should have seen me before. Like, I'll see if I can try to find some pictures or clips of what my space used to look like, or at least my makeup space. No curator in here. I was not a curator in the slightest. But yeah, once I started decluttering makeup, I learned to do it with my wardrobe and with everything else, and it just becomes a lot easier to let go of stuff in one category when you've gotten better at it in a different category. Like, I talk about clothing a lot, and that is a really good comparison because they're sort of, I was similarly interested in both. Even with like home stuff, I've been posting a lot on Facebook Buy Nothing groups lately, just like random stuff. My last thing, it was 4 different items. So I had these 2 wine glasses that my partner and I had got when we went to a wine tasting. They weren't proper glasses. They were like plastic, but they looked like nice wine glasses, but we just never reached for them because we have nicer glasses. But they were sort of like a memory, and I didn't want to get rid of them, but I was like, oh, well, maybe someone else will want this. And then there was also this big bag of snacks. It was like a bag of individually packaged snacks that we do not like at all. And I had tried to get through them slowly. I would eat them, but they were just not good. And then also I had this tea. It was like raspberry herb leaf tea. Did not taste good. But because these 2 consumable things were individually packaged, they were fine to pass on. Same with the wine cups. So I passed that all on to someone else, and it feels good. Someone else can get use out of them. And I do this all the time with home stuff now, whereas before I just would have, gone into a cupboard and, one day we'll finish those snacks. One day I'll drink that tea. It's not that bad. If it hasn't happened yet, if we've had them for 6 months to a year and we never reach for them, just pass it on to someone else. And that is something that I learned from my makeup no-buy. So I think I'm just overall less attached to random things. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still quite attached to my stuff and the things I love, but I'm less attached to things that I have no reason to be attached to. Number 3 is the ways in which my no-buy, low-buy actually impacted my relationship with makeup itself, which I have talked about at length, but I will just summarize it as saying that my makeup skills improved hugely as a result of this whole endeavor. Honestly, my entire relationship with makeup and with my makeup products has changed because I always loved makeup, but I would always do the same makeup looks. I would never try anything different. I would never get creative with my looks. The only creativity would be when I would alter between, a red lip and a dark lip. Sure, I tried new products all the time, but I wasn't trying them in order to change up my makeup style or try different looks. I was just trying them because for me it was about the product itself, you know? It wasn't about the makeup look that I would end up with. It was about the product and coveting it and having something new that like everyone was talking about. It's been a 180 on my relationship to makeup because now it's not about the product. Like, sure, I talk about the products I have and what I like, and I show my inventory, but it's so much more about the artistry of it now and the way that I like to play with products and different looks. Like, even today, I never would have tried a look where I had like a light green, like a lime green in the inner corner and on the lid, but I tried this one day just for myself. I posted a picture on Instagram. You guys loved it, so figured out how to recreate it today. Yeah, green, would not have given that a try. Red, no way. And these are some of my favorite colors now, and orange. So for me now, makeup has really become about having fun, the creativity, whereas before it was about the product itself and the size of my collection. I've just overall gotten a lot better, a lot more skilled at makeup as well, I think, because I've been forced to, you know, get creative with what I have. Having those constraints have made me a better makeup artist. And this sort of leads into the next point, which is that I always loved makeup, but I really feel like it's more a part of my identity now. Now, part of that is because I do have a YouTube channel, which is important to me, and I made an Instagram account because of that makeup channel. And so, you know, both of these are aspects of my life, but I don't necessarily feel like every part of my makeup life has to do with my YouTube or Instagram. Like, there's still times when I will have fun putting makeup on and I won't document it in any way. Like, I'll completely forget to even like take a picture, you know? And I don't even feel like I'm being my most creative self on camera. Sometimes I want to play it like a little bit safer for the camera and do a look that I know will look good. And so I have more fun with makeup just for myself when I'm doing it for me or for a party or whatever, and I give myself that freedom to play with it. I think people know me that way now. People know that I love having fun with makeup and that I always have a fun look going on, and I get compliments on it, not on my like appearance, which, not that that's bad, but it oftentimes feels a lot better to be complimented on your skill or your intelligence. And when people say, wow, I love the way you did your eyeshadow, that looks incredible, sometimes that feels nicer than just, wow, you're so pretty, you know? So yeah, I feel like I've made makeup a much bigger part of my identity, and I love that. Also, part of my identity is like the, you know, organizing and home edit type stuff, where I've just really fallen in love with making my space feel good and organizing and being like overall being a more organized person. I think people know me a lot as someone who tries to rehome a lot of my items, and I'm always decluttering and curating my space and going to clothing swaps and all that. Like, that in some ways has come about as a result of my makeup no-buy as well, and my relationship to stuff. This shirt, I got it at a clothing swap I went to last week with Shauna, and actually I got another shirt which I wore earlier. You will see that in a different video, because I was also excited about that shirt. And then even thinking about like the mascara I'm wearing right now, my friend Jay here on Instagram and YouTube, she gifted that to me because she doesn't use it anymore. So it's like this whole kind of, maybe this isn't super relevant to the original topic I brought up, but this kind of like reciprocity I'm loving cultivating in my life and bringing that about in my community. And even if it's not in my community, like among my friends, which sometimes it is, we, you know, give each other stuff that we don't need anymore, encouraging other people, like all of you guys, to cultivate that kind of community where you live and with the people you know. That is something that's super important to me now as well, and I want to continue that going forwards. And it's all because of my no-buy and discovering buns and carrot and Facebook buy nothing and clothing swaps and all of that. It's all tied up together. All right, and the fifth and final way that my makeup no-buy has fundamentally transformed my life and who I am as a person in a positive way, maybe one day I'll talk about the negative ways, is I have a fundamentally different relationship to shopping now. Shopping as a whole, not just makeup. I was originally going to talk about just my relationship to shopping for makeup, but I realized it is clothing too. It is stuff. Let me draw you a picture of what shopping used to be like for me. Every single time I would go into Shoppers, which is the drugstore here in Canada, you know, a few times a month maybe, I would head straight for the beauty aisle. Sometimes I would go to Shoppers just so that I could check out the beauty aisle. Did I ever need anything? No, I did not. I mean, you know, you never need makeup, but let's just set that aside for now. Now I think I'm at the point where in some categories of my collection, I will actually need things at some point. I will run out of foundation and concealer pretty soon, so I need those. But back before my Makeup No Buy, of course, there were no categories where I was anywhere near close to finishing, so I didn't need makeup in the first place. But also, I wasn't there to look for a specific item. I was just there to enjoy the looking. I was there because I loved, well, it wasn't even window shopping, because I wanted to walk away with something. I loved checking out what was new, what was on sale. I wasn't really interested in thinking about what I needed or if I really needed anything new. I just wanted to go for the fun of it. Same with Sephora. Sometimes I would be in the Eaton Center or Yorkdale and I would go to Sephora just because it was there and because I enjoyed the looking. For me, that itself was the event. Like, that was the shopping. It wasn't that I needed something or I was planning to buy something. I just loved the window shopping and to look at all the stuff and think about owning all of the stuff. And it was the same with clothing. Like, I would often go shopping not because I needed anything or I was trying to find a basic white t-shirt or anything like that. It was just like, oh, there's big sales on, so why not check out American Eagle or Forever 21 or Zara? I would just go shopping because I liked it, and there's nothing wrong with that on the surface, but when I'm shopping at stores that are, you know, fast fashion and are a detriment to the workers, to the planet, that's where it's kind of destructive. Now, even when I go to Plato's Closet, which is my favorite store, and I go there fairly frequently, it's secondhand, so it's not, you know, an actual problem. I'm not aiding the climate crisis or anything like that. I only go if I really need something, if I'm specifically looking for certain items or if I have a trip coming up and I need something for that. I don't go more than 3 or 4 times a year max, and that is basically all of the shopping I do. I do a little bit at clothing swaps and buns, but basically all my shopping gets done at Plato's Closet, and I only go a few times a year because I don't need more than that. I do not need more clothing than I can wear. I already have so much. And I love clothing, but I'm much more cognizant now about my shopping habits, not even from a money perspective, but just thinking about my relationship with stuff and what I need and what makes sense to buy. I would often go to Marshall's or Winners just because it was close by and I wanted to see what they have. It's the same with makeup websites. I wouldn't necessarily have the intention of buying anything, but I would browse just to see what they had, what's new on ColourPop. I want to know what I should want to own, even if I didn't plan on actually owning that stuff. It was much more about thinking about what I would buy one day and all the products that were out there and keeping up with the market. And now it's much more about what I need. It's much more realistic about what I actually should bring into my life, what makes sense, thinking through decisions, whereas before it ended up with, honestly, a lot of impulse purchases because I wasn't going in with a plan. I just went in because I wanted to shop, and I enjoyed that. And I still enjoy shopping, but I'm much more purposeful about it now, and as a result, it has fundamentally transformed my relationship with stuff and my relationship with makeup. And it's all because of this no-buy. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you're curious, you can watch the first iteration of this video. It is very different. I think it's also not even 10 minutes long, so it's much shorter. I've become much more verbose, but I think these topics there's a lot to talk about, so it's hard to keep it concise. But now let's talk about a book that I have been reading lately, and I've actually been wanting to talk about this one for so long, and I almost talked about it in a recent video, but that one was already way too long, so I was like, okay, I'm just not going to talk about one in this video. This is called Brother by David Cherianthe. I read this because there is a film adaptation, so it's a Canadian book. I don't think I've already talked about this. So I saw the movie first. It was absolutely incredible. Like, just, you watch it and you're like, this is filmmaking. Like, this is art. All of the decisions were so well made. It was so well cast. The cinematography was incredible. The music was so good. It was kind of like If Beale Street Can Talk, if you know that soundtrack. It had vibes of that. The characters didn't even speak that much, but you felt like you knew them so well. And the story was just kind of emotionally heartbreaking, but so well written, and it was just such a direct translation from book to film. You don't get that often, but with Brother, I think I liked the movie better just because it was so well written, and the movie was able to bring so many of those aspects to life. Just seeing it on screen was just a joy. If you're able to find this film, I highly recommend it. Please get the book out of your library. It is short, it won't take you long to read, but it's a beautiful story, amazing characters, and I guess I'll tell you what it's about. It's about two brothers. They're raised by a single mother. They lived in the outskirts of Toronto in a suburb called Scarborough. There's also a book and film adaptation of Scarborough, which are equally excellent, and it's just them growing up, dealing with police violence, anti-Black racism, their own relationships, and youth and coming of age. Beautifully done. So highly recommend. I think my camera is about to die, so I'm going to cut it off here, but thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of this video, and I will speak to you next week. Bye.